Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RAMP, Real Access Motivates Progress, live Wednesday night podcast. We are so excited that you could all join us tonight, and we look forward to an exciting conversation with one of my favorite companies in Rhode Island, Oakley's Home Access. We are talking everything of aging in place and disability assessments and business ramps that you can get. So welcome to the show, Dan and Melissa. Hello, guys.
Hi, Tina. Thanks for having us.
Hey, Tina. Nice to have you.
I am so excited to have the conversation with both of you tonight, but I want everybody to know who you are and what you do. So, Melissa, can you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
So we're Oakley Home Access. We are a medical equipment vendor based out of Rhode Island. We cover parts of Connecticut and parts of Massachusetts. We're owned and operated by an occupational therapist and a contractor who is certified aging in place. We do free home modifications to try to identify barriers and eliminate those barriers with ramps, grab bars, and other various forms of modification and some durable medical equipment. Our mission is to just help keep people aging in place, keep them safe in their home, and lower the amount of people that are readmitted back into rehabs and hospitals and nursing homes.
And that is so important because, you can save a lot more money staying home than being in rehab or the hospital and nursing homes. Dan, tell everybody who you are and what you do for Oakley's.
All right, great. Thanks. Thanks for having me today, Tina. So my name is Dan Lynch. I'm an occupational therapist. So I'm one of the assessors at Oakley Home Access. So prior to Oakley, I had 10 years experience as an occupational therapist. I worked everything from working with early intervention in a hospital, in home care. So I had a lot of various experience. And then I thought that transition to Oakley was a great segue because it's an even better way to help people really enjoy the holistic nature of the company. So my job as one of the assessors is I go into people's homes. I use my skills as an occupational therapist to look at them functionally, what the home's like, to make good decisions and to lead them in the right direction as to if they need grab bars, railings, anything like that. But I work with families. I work with the clients themselves to come up with the best in accessibility solutions, and great time to get to know them and help people out.
It's so great. Everything that Oakley does is so amazing. They have everything from ramps to chairs to lifts. And it's so exciting, everything that they do. Melissa, tell us some of the things that Oakley has upcoming.
Well, right now we are working with representatives from the Massachusetts area, specifically Carol Doherty of Bristol County, to try to pass a bill that is very similar, almost identical to the grant that's available in Rhode Island, the Rhode Island Livable Home Modification Grant, where people can apply for the grant to have a modification done, get the work done themselves, and then be reimbursed up to $5,000 back, which would be half the cost.
That is so exciting because what everybody needs to know is the Rhode Island Home Modification Grant is the first of its kind. Rhode Island is actually a leader in something, and it's a leader in something for disability, which is really cool. And we just found out this week that the grant went from $4,000 to $4,500 reimbursement. So, I mean, an extra 500 you don't think means a lot, but that means a few extra grab bars. That means, a better quality something or else, or, just helping you with your budget and helping to offset. So getting this passed in our neighboring states is something that's truly important. So if you're out there from Massachusetts, make sure you get behind this bill. Melissa, who can they contact to either testify or talk to their representative to make sure that this bill gets passed in Massachusetts?
So we're going to be putting out, we have a blog, we're going to be putting out, sending out some emails, letting people know how exactly they can get a hold of their local representatives and where to look. So I can get that information to you. after
Oh,
this.
perfect. Yep.
You can always call Oakley and ask as well, but I'll send you the information on this as well.
Yeah, and one way they posted online, they usually tag ramp in some of the things that they do. So we will make sure that we will share it on all of our social media. Dan, tell everybody how useful the home modification grant is here in Rhode Island, because I know with you going out to assess places, I know you talk about it a lot to a lot of the clients, because I know the first question they ask when you go out is, how much is this going to cost me? Am I incorrect with that?
Oh, that's that's like one of the forefront questions, So, you know, as an assessor, some of the things I try to do is, I try to look for minimally invasive modifications that cost less money. But sometimes, there's things that are needed that, like a stair lift that can cost, thousands of dollars, $2,000-3,000. And for some people, that's just too much, and it's kind of sad because something like that can prevent a fall, can improve somebody's quality of life. But a lot of times when I mention the grant that can reimburse 50%, it really opens up a lot of doors for people. It really does. And I have a unique experience of not only being a Massachusetts resident, but performing evaluations in Massachusetts and then performing evaluation in Rhode Island. And I can tell you firsthand that the grant has really helped out a lot of people in Rhode Island. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about trying to get a similar grant in Massachusetts, because as great as it is to help out the Rhode Island residents, I would just love to do the same thing for Massachusetts. So yeah, I love it, and the people love it, and it's definitely something that's really one of the most exciting things as far as being able to help people and what the state of Rhode Island has done.
And one of the things that people need to know about the grant is that you can reuse it. It's not a one and done kind of thing. You can,
Right.
once you finish, like say you decided to put a ramp on your front door and you got all that done and paid for, you can put yourself back on the list for maybe some bars for your bathroom, or maybe a walk-in shower, or whatever else you need. It's not a one and done. It's, you can reuse this loan. I mean, you go back on a list because obviously they're going to take somebody who hasn't used it first, but you can go back on the list and get it. If you want to know more about this grant, you can go right onto the RAMP website. It's right under our resources, www.rampisinclusion.org. We are not a .com anymore. We are now a .org as of this week. So go onto our website under the resource tab, and you can read all about this home modification grant. It is vitally important. What people don't realize is people are on fixed incomes, but the cap to this home modification is very high. I want to say it's like 72,000. Am I off on that, Dan?
78,700. So
I was close. I was in the 7 range, but see how high that threshold is? A lot of us and it only goes by the person, not the household. So that's the other thing that you have to realize. So it is a very large threshold that anybody can access this grant. So go onto our website and check it out. This grant is so vital to Rhode Island, and hopefully we will support everything we can to get it done in Massachusetts. Dan, take us a little walkthrough of when somebody calls you and they want to have their house assessed. Tell us a little walkthrough so it takes the scariness out of it for people when they know that you're coming.
Yeah, that's great. So the first thing that most folks do is they hear about us either from your podcast or a physical therapist or a family friend. And what they do is they to initiate the appointment, they give us a call. They're met by one of our very friendly front office staff, either Liz or Destiny. What they do is they take their information and they let them know a little bit about how the assessment's going to go, who's going to be out to see them. We schedule a time that works for them, and then I in turn get some of that information as well. I get information about the family, sometimes the diagnosis, what they're potentially looking for. Sometimes it's a good cue for me to initiate the conversation as to what they're looking into. And once I go out to see the person in the home, I feel at home because it's really like being an occupational therapist. I'm not a salesperson. So when I go in the person's home, the first thing I do is I want to get to know them a little bit. So, you know, I knock on the door, we greet them, you know, the usual pleasantries, but we talk about, you know, what happened to them, what's been most difficult, what their goals are, what their budget is, things like that. So once we get those out of the way, I ask them to show me around the house. You know, usually it happens organically. We go from room to room. I make my recommendations, and I always tell them it's really no pressure. It's just a list that I make from my observations of, you know, how they're moving around and some of the barriers in the home and some of the things that I see that could be difficult. I write down my recommendations. I talk to the family. I sit down with them. I'll print out all my recommendations out line by line. I'll even print out pictures for them. And I also encourage the family to collaborate with anybody else in the family, or physical therapists, occupational therapists, anybody involved. Really want to make this a really comfortable process. I don't want it to make it feel like we're pushing a certain product, because when I do that assessment, I'm doing it as an OT. I'm doing it as a person who looks at the individual and looks at, you know, whether it's a recent fall that they've had, and I'm tailoring each product towards them. That's going to be absolutely useful and not something that's going to be pushy, or, you know, it's also a good way to save money too, right? If I indicate somebody can get by it with just grab bars or handrails and they're not ready for the stair lift, I'll absolutely say, you know, I think the like handrails or something like that will be more appropriate given your mobility level and things like that. You know, definitely, I think by the end of the process, I think sometimes people are a little bit on edge when you come in, because, you know, especially a lot of the older population is on guard sometimes. Unfortunately, sometimes they get taken advantage of by people. But fortunately, by the end of my assessment, it's really, it feels like, you know, they treat me like one of the family members a lot of times. Towards the end, they're offering me coffee, we're sitting down a little bit, and it's nice. It's a great process. I enjoy it, and, you know, it's fun just to do something that I enjoy and that I know that I'm helping other people.
And I hope everybody was really listening to what he was saying, because this is why I partner with Oakley. Oakley puts the person first. They get to know the person. The first thing they do is not try to sell anything. It's not try to go right to the equipment. They literally sit down and assess the person that they're talking to. There is no pressure. And this is what the home modification grant can do for you. When he writes down his list, you could do everything in your parlor on this grant round, and on the next grant round, do everything he offers in the bathroom or the kitchen. You don't have to do everything at once. Those assessments are good. And if they need to come out, because if you feel that your health has declined or your mobility has declined, they will come out and reassess according to what your body is. Oakley's is all about the person, not the sale, not the equipment. I mean, yes, they have that and they can make your life better for you or your family, but they're not about the sale. They are about the person and making sure people are safe, comfortable, and can age at home. This is, again, we do not recommend any company that I don't wholeheartedly 100% use, number one, and two, believe in. And that's how I feel about Oakley. And I am not paid to say this. There is no fees here anywhere. So I just want to make sure that people know that you need to call them. Melissa, tell us a little bit about what your end has to deal with. Like, how does this all translate once the assessment is done?
So I'm out there beforehand. I'm doing the outreach portion of it in Massachusetts. And as you know, I worked for Ocean State Center for Independent Living for many years, doing the assessments myself. And I just really, really appreciated what Oakley was doing for the community. I have a background as a CODA, but I'm just doing the outreach portion for Oakley. Just letting them know that sometimes you may not be ready to have a modification done, or with all the visitors you're getting when you come home from rehab, sometimes you don't even know who's sent who's coming in. you have adult children, maybe across the state or across the country, sending vendors and all types of different people coming into your home. We just want people to know what to expect, possibly what it could cost, and even just identifying those areas. Maybe you're not even ready to do something. You just want to know what you could do to help remain in your home as independently as possible for as long as possible, and try to eliminate some of those barriers that could cause a fall risk. So we like to go in. I let people know, just call us and have us come out and do a free assessment. It costs you nothing. There's no obligation. We're coming in, telling you all the different things that you could do. Not that you should, but that you could. It's our professional and medically based recommendations, clinically based recommendations. So my role is to go out, meet with community members, go into all these different facilities, work with the directors of rehab, other professionals in the community that work directly with the demographic that Oakley reaches out to, and let them know that we're available. You know, we want to collect as many resources as we can to be able to pass along to people. We want them to know that we're here for them, that we are looking to identify any of these barriers in their home and work with them to see what can be done, and not give them any unnecessary modifications, any suggestions.
Right. And the other incredible thing that Oakley's does is they were smart enough to pick somebody who already went out and did the assessment to go out and do the outreach. So you know exactly what an assessment looks like. You know exactly, what has to be done and what people need. So they were smart enough to hire somebody to do the outreach to make sure people feel comfortable, than to have Dan come out and come into their home. They do so many things. And if you go on their website, oakleyhomeaccess.com, you will see a lot of videos. Follow them on Facebook, because they're also, good where they have me come out, and I actually tried out everything that they have in their showroom, except for they have a new elevator in their showroom that I cannot wait to go and play with. But I have been out to their showroom, and I have tried out and videoed me using all of their equipment. So you're not just hearing it from able-bodied people, you're hearing it from somebody who literally uses everything that they have to offer out and about in the community. And I'll tell you, the things that they have now are absolutely beautiful. The grab bars that they have, you would never know that it's a disability grab bar. It's just beautiful. To the curb cuts, where you can use your tub in two different ways, with the curb cut and the filler that goes in, to everything that you have. It just makes sense to use Oakley's. But another aspect that we deal with Oakley's, that I know Dan is going to talk about now, is we assess a lot of businesses. Most businesses need industrial, ramps that are used way more often than a home ramp. They're different. They also do the suitcase ramps and everything. So Dan, why don't you tell a little bit about how those ramps and the businesses are, good with those?
Yeah, so one of the great things about doing commercial ramps is that, believe it or not, something like that, we can get a commercial ramp in. We got one in a couple of weeks, and the actual process for installation only took one day. So we did one, for an example, we did one in Boston. It was part of a college campus where there were just a set of stairs. They're doing some major construction, and the choices were to make that building inaccessible for many months until they got, somebody constructed a ramp, or a company like ourselves. When I did the assessment, it's a little bit more in depth. I have to look at a lot of different things. There's a lot of different parameters for a commercial ramp, because it has to be used for everybody. There are different codes too. So when I went to this property, I looked around. I made sure there was access as far as parking. I had to make sure there was access for a curb cut, and it was something that's going to be accessible, would meet the code in Boston. And within a month of getting the phone call, we were able to set an installation date, get that commercial ramp in place, and make that building accessible to everybody. instead of shutting down that whole area for many months. Also save the city some a lot of money as far as construction costs go. But it feels good because there's a lot of people who rely on those offices for work, for leisure, and to be able to get something like that in and speed up the timeline and make it accessible as quick as you can. That's great too. So I do take some pleasure in doing the commercial assessments as well as going over and a more personal assessment one-to-one with a client in their home. It's a different kind of assessment, but I find a lot of value in it. And I'm glad that we at Oakley have made the transition to do some of these commercial jobs and help out the general public, and just with opportunity to help a lot of people at once.
It's so important because we don't just sit at home. We want to get out and about. There's places that we need to go, that having these buildings inaccessible to us makes it very, very difficult. So the quick turnaround is great. The other thing that we do a lot of with Oakley's, and we've donated to so far from our big event every year, and we hope to do more and more, is the suitcase ramp. Tell everybody what the suitcase ramp and a little bit about the assessment for that.
All right, great. So a suitcase ramp is, just like it's named, it's like a suitcase in that it folds in half. So what you have is a portable suitcase ramp, and these are available in sizes from 2 feet all the way up to 8 feet. Now there are different weights. Generally speaking, anything up to 5 feet is good for somebody to lift themselves. Anything longer than that, we mentioned that it will be good for 2 people. But a suitcase ramp is good for access for 1 to 2 steps. That opens up a lot of different accessibility solutions, because there's a lot of businesses where it is just 1 step to get in. But as you know, if you're a wheelchair user, that 1 step can make that building inaccessible. The great part about the suitcase ramp is that I mentioned the great timeline of a commercial ramp that takes a month and then a whole day to install. Well, a suitcase ramp is we bring it there, you lay it down, and it makes that building accessible within that instant. They can be removed, and they can actually be portable, so that business can even take it with them. If it's a business owner that owns multiple businesses, they can take it to a different business, or these are things that even people in their homes use. They use it from house to house. So great for curb steps, great for accessibility to buildings. It's much lower cost than, say, a modular ramp, and these small little solutions. Those are the little things where you can save people money, and you can also increase the turnaround time to making an area accessible.
It also
go ahead, Melissa.
It also makes your home accessible if you are having out-of-town guests and everybody's coming and there's one person that can't come because they're in a wheelchair. So we also rent them so they could come to the function as well, or come in for the weekend or the holidays.
That is so important to know. And one thing I will say, Justin has come out to do a bunch of assessments with me, and he's brought multiple sizes with him, and we were able to do the assessment and leave a ramp with them same day. So these are things that can be quick turnaround if you want to make your business fully accessible. Like we just did the Park Theater. He brought 4 ramps down, and then we got to pick and choose the one that worked best. One thing I will say though is, if you put a ramp out and you notice that there's somebody using it in your business, do not fold that ramp up until those people leave. I've known some people that put them out and then, put them aside. Anybody can walk on a ramp. So able-bodied people and everything, that ramp is not in anybody's way. Put it out in the morning, put it away at night when the business is closed. Leave them out all day, because you never know when someone's going to show up and need it. You never know when somebody who looks physically able but just had back or knee surgery, or may not have a disability where they can't bend their knees or do steps, that ramp is going to be vital for them to come into your business. So leave them out. If there's a bad weather like yesterday, fold them up, put them aside, do your shoveling, and put it back out again. It's portable. It doesn't have to be weathered in any way, shape, or form. They're the best thing. Especially think about Thames Street in Newport. all of those businesses are one step. They're one step preventing everybody with baby carriages, knee scooters, back surgery, wheelchairs from getting into your business. If every business on Thames Street had a suitcase ramp, that entire street would be fully accessible.
Right.
It's seriously that easy. And I mean, these ramps run from $100 up to probably like $600-700, depending on what size ramp you need. That's a really cheap change to do, even for us, to make it accessible for everybody. And like Melissa says, you can even rent them for the holidays when you want to take grandma or grandpa or cousin or somebody who may have had surgery or just had an accident, want to come to your house. You can rent one of these ramps
Right.
for the day, for the weekend, whatever.
We also, I've also spoken with real estate agents who had no idea that something like this existed. You know, they're selling homes to people who are also, who might have a disability, who are looking to spend money and buy a house as well. And then they see a house that they can't get into, and it's automatically out of reach for them. But if there was a suitcase ramp there for them to get into the house, to even see if there's potential for it to be a home they could move into and call their own and age in, then that would be great for them all around.
That is such a great point, because I know that, you know, a lot of realtors will do a virtual walkthrough, and a virtual walkthrough is okay, but you can't really see what the size of that doorway is, or if you could fit under that sink, or if the room, I mean, everything looks bigger in
Right.
pictures. They do that on purpose, you know, but getting into the building. So, you know, it's great for realtors. So if you own a real estate agency, you might want to get a couple of these ramps or look into them, so that way, when you are showing houses, you can rent or borrow them to show your houses. Such a great idea. I didn't even think of that one myself. So thank you for bringing that up. All of this is great ideas and what we should be using. Melissa, tell us some of the other products that Oakley's has to offer.
We do stair lifts. I think the stair lifts are probably one of the most common, that and the ramps that we do, and grab bars as well. Railings, and there's also, so we do something called a tub cut. And the tub cut is a more economical option, I think, versus remodeling your entire bathroom. So if you're looking to just be able to access your tub to get in and out of the tub without having to pull the whole thing out, a tub cut is a good option for you. It just takes out a portion of the tub wall and leaves enough to keep the water from coming out. And it now has turned with the placement of grab bars, it turns your your tub into a walk-in. You could just step right into it safely. And with the placement of the grab bars that Dan has recommended, they can step in as the least amount of steps as possible. And then we could also provide the shower chair if they don't have one, depending on what their needs are, the type of chair, which is also assessed during that home assessment as well. And it just, it makes it's easy for to prevent the falls for people. And it also helps the caregiver too, for caregiver ease when they're helping somebody get in. If the caregiver is overexerting themselves and doing all these extra steps to try to get somebody in, they're going to hurt themselves, and it helps nobody. I've come across
the nice thing about the curb cut too is not only does it cut out for your grandmother or grandfather or whoever needs to use that curb cut, if you also have your grandchildren that weekend, there is a slot that you could put back in, and it seals that curb cut, so you have your tub back. So with the tub cut, you're not, I keep saying curb cut, that's for getting on and off the sidewalk, but for the tub cut, you can literally put the insert back in and fill your tub and take a bath. So you're not losing anything by doing it. You still have a full tub because the insert comes with it, but yet you also have it so you can just slide in, and it's available. So for all ages, for all abilities, it's definitely something that you need to take care of. And as far as the stair lift, having Dan or Melissa go out and assess your building, the one thing you've got to remember is, if they use a wheelchair, you're going to need a wheelchair at the other end. So if you're going from the bottom to the top, you're going to need a wheelchair at the top, like a transport chair or something smaller, so they can get around. So just know, unless they can do a few steps or use a cane, anytime you have a chairlift, because I have a chairlift in my house that Oakley put in, and I have an extra wheelchair, a manual one in my basement. So when I do go downstairs, I can use my manual chair and get around. So those are just a couple things to think about. I'm sorry to cut you off, but tell us some of the other things that they have.
I'll let Dan take that one.
Yeah, no, I think Melissa definitely, she hit most of them. You did great, Melissa. So I think some of the other products, you mentioned the tub seats, the tub benches. One of the things people don't realize is how many different varieties of tub chairs and tub benches there are. I think that's really one of the differences between getting just anybody to come in and suggest a shower seating choice and an occupational therapist. So there's a lot of different choices. Not all of them are right for you, and sometimes they can create more hazards. So I think it's really important for myself to go out when I do the home assessment. I do a lot of research, and I'll take a lot of measurements. I'll learn a lot about the person. It's a little bit more difficult than you would think, because everybody is a little bit different. Everybody's setup's a little bit different, and I take a lot of time to make sure that somebody has the exact right product that's going to work for them. As you mentioned, stair lifts, we have straight stair lifts, we have curved stair lifts, ramps, suitcase ramps. We have patient lifts, so ceiling lifts. We have sit to stand lifts, which if anybody's been in a hospital or a skilled nursing facility, you might know what they are. They're very helpful for folks. We rent manual sit to stand lifts too. So we rent some of this equipment. You know, things like, you know, obviously the stilts lift. I don't know if we want to get into that a little bit later, but that's the elevator. Vertical platform lifts, which are great for the wheelchair user. Commonly we see them in garages. So if that person that you mentioned, Tina, sometimes one of the things I look at when I do a stair lift assessment is, can that person make that transfer on and off the stair lift? Not just today, but can they make that transfer months from now? Can they make it next year? Because whenever somebody wants to make an investment, I want it to be something that's not going to just be work for that day. I want it to be something that's going to make the house accessible for the longest amount of time that it can. So a lot of times when people call about stair lifts, sometimes we start talking about vertical platform lifts, because it's a little more accessible for the wheelchair user. There's no transfer involved. So yeah, I think Melissa hit a lot of the products.
Yeah,
you know,
you guys got great products. I mean, you got the chair lift, as I call it, the granny launcher, the one that you sit down and it makes you help stand to transfer. We also have the lap snap over there that you can get from Oakley's Home Access, which is a shopping basket that you can put and have hands-free shopping. But the one thing I have to say is one of your cooler new tub chairs that I like, it's on a track. So those, once you get them transferred and the caregiver and they're strapped in, it also can slide out and transfer right over the toilet. So if you get them in the shower, kind of like that kid that you say, go to the bathroom before we go on a road trip, and they forget, you can slide them back over and right onto the toilet and then slide them back into the shower without having to transfer. These are all things that, like I said, you think are little things, but they're huge when you're talking about a wet area.
Are you referring to the tub? Is it the Tub Buddy? Is that what she's talking about?
The tub chair that slides off the track, but it could go right over the toilet too. I love it.
Right. So I did want to mention, so how Dan is saying all the different types of shower chairs, which is surprising. Sometimes people get discharged and they are told what they're going to need when they get home. They don't always get a home assessment. So then insurance goes ahead and provides that chair, or a family member goes and buys whatever chair was recommended, but nobody's seen the bathroom or the tub or really addressed their home environment. So to have Dan come out or Alex come out and do a free home assessment and identify what's exactly needed. Sometimes people are using equipment that was donated or maybe left over from a loved one that passed away, and it's not appropriate for their weight and their height, which could pose a whole slew of issues from using that. So it's nice to have that professional assessment to decide what piece of equipment, which piece of equipment is going to work best for the individual.
That is a great thing. So always get the assessment, even if you're coming home with that list. Call Oakley's. They can pretty much get out to you in a day or so, you know what I mean? And get, depending on emergencies, they do take emergencies and stuff. They will get out to you. They will do the assessment. Do that assessment. Don't waste money on something that is not going to work for you. I had more OTs or anything who haven't seen me and told me I needed this, that, and the other thing, and none of it worked for me. That, you know, I had to call Justin and go, Justin, what do I need? What, you know, what's best going to be for this situation and stuff like that. That Dan, Melissa, Justin, any of them, Mike can do that assessment. So call. Yeah, it's a free assessment. What do you have to lose but not wasting money and making sure that your loved one or you are safe and you're in your home using the proper equipment. You know, it's so important to do this. What else are we missing, Melissa? What else do we have coming down the pipeline? We know that Oakley's Home Access is going to be a part of Accessibility is Beautiful 2023, September 23rd, 2023. So they will have all of their suitcase ramps out there and all of their expertise out there at that event. So we are so looking forward to partnering with you as we always do. What are we missing? What else haven't we talked about yet tonight?
Well, I haven't had a chance to participate in that event yet. I know OSL had participated, and I know Oakley does every year. So this year, I will definitely be going to that.
Oh, I can't wait to have you come down. You're going to have so much fun. We have such a great time with all the entertainment and artists and vendors and everybody. We just have so much fun. And then we invite all of our legislators and business owners in to come and mix and mingle. And we've had so many people who are hired for jobs or entertainment, or their artwork is hanging all over the state of Rhode Island right now. And it's all people from the disability community. It's heartwarming to see that people see us for really who we are when they get to interact with us. It's such a great event. Dan, you'll have to be coming to that event again this year because you haven't been at it yet either. You guys are newbies. So we have to get you, you know, christened with this big event. But what other events does Oakley's have coming up that people can see them? Any talks, any trainings, anything that's going on that we're missing?
Cheryl's going to be having a table at the Crown Plaza for the Alzheimer's Rhode Island chapter, Alzheimer's Association. We have Dan and Alex out there and Justin just doing as many in-services and presentations as possible at local senior centers. And in Massachusetts, there's a few senior expos and health expos coming up that are also being held at the Council on Aging. So we're just trying to spread the word, get the word out there that Oakley is.
So if you have a senior center here in Rhode Island, or you have a group that could be using any of this information, call Oakley's up, ask Dan or Justin or anybody to come on out and give a talk to your community. Better safe than sorry. Let them know about the information before they need it. You know what I mean? It's never too early to inquire. And if you're planning on, you know, doing some bathroom renovations or doing some house renovations, make sure you're calling, because especially if you're, you know, 60 and older, we all are going to end up in the disability community at one point or another. You break a hip, you break a knee, you hurt yourself. You know what I mean? Why not make that assessment? So if you're making the changes anyway, make it where it's going to be beautiful and it's going to be useful for you down the road so you can age in place. Melissa, can you talk a little bit about that for us?
About the assessment process, or
no, about, you know, how to get in touch with the people earlier when they, you know what I mean, they may not need the services right away, but they can still use you know, the changeover.
Right. So people just assume, you know, I'll hear people say, well, I don't need that right now. Thinking ahead, if you've been in your home for 20 years, you know, and you're thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to age in place and stay here, you shouldn't necessarily wait until you've had an incident or until something has happened. And then you start to panic and think about, what am I going to do now? Or you're in your home and you haven't been able to get out because something happened. It's good to think ahead. And if you're thinking what can be done, because sometimes you really don't know exactly what it is you need, but you know where your problem areas are. So you would give us a call and you would ask for somebody to come out and do an assessment to identify those areas. You don't necessarily have to do the work right away. You're going to be left with this wonderful itemized list on what's important, what can wait. No pressure into, doing something at every single door or putting grab bars and railings and, all over your house. There's areas to identify that you use the most, the common, the most trafficked areas in your home. We think we address areas for emergency egress. I mean, there's tons of things that having this assessment in your hand can do. It's very empowering, I think, to have that. And then especially down the line, if you do have some work done, you know what it is that needs to be done. You're not going to get taken advantage of. You're going to control it.
And how many people have their mother, father, whoever, whether one of the other spouses pass away or they have a fall and they're going to move in with you? So when you're making these changes, knowing that you have older family members that could possibly, have to move in with you at some point, you're ready for them. Or if they had to come, if they live away and they have to come and visit, you're now ready for them to come and visit, and it's safe for them to come down and visit. Dan, we're nearing the end of our time tonight. So tell everybody what the most important takeaway from tonight is. Like, give a 1-minute wrap up of why people should use Oakley's Home Access.
Yeah, sure. So I actually think one of the most important things, so Melissa talked about it just earlier, is one of the things that Oakley has. So when I go out to do an assessment, I would say 90% of the time it's the emergent situation. Somebody's recovering from a fall, somebody needs to get home, getting discharged from a skilled nursing facility. But one of the reasons why I love to do this outreach and go to councils on aging and talk about Oakley is just for the purpose of, I want to capture that 10%. And one day, if we had 90% of the people who were pre-planning, who hadn't had a fall, who just called and said, hey, listen, we realize we're getting a little bit older and we just want you to take a look at our home and just, suggest some modifications. One of the things that I think would help people out a little bit is that it really is a no pressure situation. I just go in there and we're not salespeople. I'm going to come in there. I'm going to do a lot of it's just minimally invasive modifications. If you're calling and you're just aging in place, it's a couple grab bars here or there, maybe some handrails, and some of the grab bars that we have, they don't look like institutional grab bars. We have different finishes, different styles. You'll look at it and it won't look like something that you're aging in place. It could be in a young person's home. So Justin, who is, he's just he's my age. He's got a couple grab bars in his home, so he's comfortably aging in place as well. So I think the takeaway would be just it doesn't hurt to give us a call beforehand. I want to hear from the people before. It's sort of bittersweet. You're getting a chance to help somebody out, but they've already had an event that's catastrophic. They've acquired a disability, or they've been away from a loved one. I would much prefer to go into the home beforehand and prevent the fall. So fall prevention is one of the most important things I think that we can take away from this today.
That's great. I mean, I wish, like I said, I never expected to be in the disability community myself, and it happened to, suffer a spinal stroke during a 5-minute procedure. So anybody can join this community at any time. We all think it's not going to happen to us, but it's probably going to happen to you at some point. Like I said, even if it's as minor as an ankle, knee, you know what I mean, or something that's temporary, you're ready for it. You're situated enough. Melissa, give us your 1-minute wrap up of why everybody should fall in love with Oakley's Home Access.
Well, I'll tell you why I did, and hopefully that will help you understand. So when I was doing assessments and I was working for the Center for Independent Living, we often used Oakley. And just their outlook, their take on the assessment, what they're looking at. They're looking at the person, they're identifying their individual barriers, and also their lifestyle as well. It's their personal environment. It's not just like coming in and just wanting to slap up a ramp and throw some grab bars on. It's what the person does, their activities, their, you know, their ADLs, like where are they going in their home? What are they doing? Are they going into their yard? It was just like looking at the person as a human being. And I really liked it. And I also liked that they, that Oakley also helps to find alternative funding. We will bend over backwards, go out of our way to try to make sure that people can get the modifications that they need. We want you to remain in your own home. We want you to stay safe there. We want you to thrive. And that's what I really liked about Oakley. So the preparation of what's to come is something I like, where the assessment is no pressure. Just tell me what it is I could do, what I can. I mean, my father was paraplegic. So for me to work at a place like Oakley, knowing that they're not just going to have somebody come in and try to sell them something, was something I really, really appreciated about them.
That's awesome. Give us the website.
So it's oakleyhomeaccess.com.
And the phone number?
The phone number is, well, actually, Dan, what is the Rhode Island number? I have the Massachusetts number.
I don't have that one offhand.
Okay, I'll tell you right now. Don't judge us, Tina, I swear.
I am not judging you, because if you didn't remember anything that they said to you tonight, you can always reach out to me, because I talk to Oakleys on a daily basis, and I don't know the number offhand, and I call them daily, but I just hit Oakley Home Access in my phone. I tell Siri to call Justin, and it just automatically calls it for me.
I got it. Sorry,
I don't know the number, but
sorry, Justin, if you're listening, we have this, I swear. All right, so we're located in Narragansett. That's our showroom. If you're looking to stop in and check out that stilts elevator or any of the equipment, we have a beautiful showroom for people to come in and interact with everything. The phone number is 401-429-3882. If you're calling from Massachusetts, we have 508-269-9227.
And again, if you forget all that, or go to Oakley Home Access, they are amazing. And I hope tonight you fell in love with Oakley and know why I love them and why they are my go-to people for everything. Because again, they look at the person and there is no pressure and there is no oversell. They will bend over backwards to find grants, to find loans, to find anything that they can find to make you affordably stay in your home. That's important, especially for our community. I can't thank you both enough for joining us tonight and telling us all about this wonderful organization called Oakley's Home Access in Narragansett. Go check out their showroom. You will fall in love. You will try out and all of their things. And you want these things in your home because they're just fun to have. And they look beautiful. Nobody comes into my home thinking it looks like a disabled home. My bathroom and everything looks like an ordinary bathroom because the things that they have nowadays is easy and it just kind of blends in. Even like the grab bar in my bedroom to my beautiful curved stair chair lift that works perfectly for me. So definitely go and check out Oakley's Home Access. They're one of my favorite people in Rhode Island. They are my be all end all for anything accessible and my best resource because they call you back. That is important. So thank you both for joining us tonight and telling us. We will be in touch really soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. This was fun.
Oh, anytime. And I want to welcome everybody back next week. We will be talking to White Cross Pharmacy, where they deliver your prescription right to your house. So that is definitely going to be something interesting. So same time, same channel, Wednesday, 7 p.m. We'll talk about White Cross Pharmacy. And as I always say, don't just sit there, everybody. Make a difference. Have a great night.
Night.